My name is Denelle Dixon. I'm the CEO and Executive Director of the Stellar Development Foundation, whose mission is to create equitable access to the global financial system. So today, I want to talk about the opportunities and the challenges that are before us as we transform everyday financial services for the better using blockchain. This is a room full of problem solvers and builders and some of the best and brightest minds in blockchain. And we're here because we see the utility that blockchain brings to be able to change and bring things to the real world. But I need to point out that we have a problem. We have a trust problem to overcome. Now, we're not alone. Institutions across industries are facing the same problems. To understand this a bit better, let's turn to the Edelman Trust survey that's done every year. It's been done for about 20 years in 28 different countries. It's an annual global survey, and they focus on trust, and they focus on how to maintain trust and what trust is. So I'm going to read what they say. They say, trust is the foundation that allows an organization to take responsible risk, and if it makes mistakes, to rebound from them. It's the strongest insurance against competitive disruption. It's the antidote to indifference and the best path to growth. So when it comes to innovation, what the 2024 report revealed is this new paradox. And it is that innovation itself is a risk factor for trust, which is really interesting and different. So most people that were surveyed across all income gaps and ages and genders talked about the fact that innovation is something that's gotten ahead of them. Innovation is something that they don't really understand. People aren't taking the time from a technology standpoint to explain it to them, or frankly, to ask them what they need. And for that, they're in fear, and this is why they don't have trust. They feel like it's being poorly managed by all of us. So some noteworthy takeaways. People feel that technology is changing just too quickly, and that it's not good for them. They feel left behind, and so therefore, they don't trust it. In order to earn this trust, people want to be included in the discussion. They want us to listen to them. They want the problems that they feel to be solved, and they want to understand how technology can actually help to solve those problems. What we learned from this trust report this year is that trust and listening, so listening is one of the top 3 trust builders. So we can all learn from this. People want more access to information that is accessible and transparent so they can understand the technology and they can understand how it benefits them. In short, trust is the ultimate currency. Now, I've been saying this for a long time. Way back in the days when I was at Mozilla, we talked about how trust is the most important thing to have from your consumers, and frankly, it's the easiest thing to lose. So society's acceptance of innovation is at stake here, and it hinges on what we can do with trust. So that trust gap on innovation should be a concern for all of us. It should be a concern for all technologists, for all builders, for everyone who wants to be able to see technology grow and change and make change for the better. So the people whose needs aren't being met, they certainly hold a lot of the answers for us. And innovation is part of the solution to really addressing these challenges, like the global unbanked. We know that over 1.4 billion people are unbanked all over the world, and that over 50% of those are women. We also know, and this statistic it's based in the US, but 25 million people are unbanked and underbanked in the US, and that's where I'm from. So on the Gen Z and the millennials who were surveyed, they were surveyed by Deloitte across 44 countries, from Germany to Japan and Brazil. They talked about the fact that the high cost of living is the top societal concern for them. And that over 50% of them are living paycheck to paycheck. One of my favorite ways to sort of sum this all up is in a recent survey revealing that there is a vast set of urgent financial needs that a majority of the population are currently, and the majority of the population believe that banks are currently not solving. And so what's happening is that people are turning to non-bank financial institutions and services to get those solutions. So this is important for us, because my point here is that innovation is an essential piece of the puzzle to address these unmet needs. Earlier this year, I went to Ghana and Kenya and Nigeria to spend some time with the local builders in the stellar ecosystem and the communities there. And I'm going to share a bit more about that in just a few minutes. But what I learned during that trip is that there is an appetite, a real appetite from consumers to get these unmet needs met. And there is a real appetite to use technology to make that happen. But they don't feel like we're talking to them or listening to them. Which means that we really can't get there unless we listen. Listening and then building is what creates trust and is going to make us all more successful. That is how we understand the problems that are before us. To hear from the people that are actually creating this patchwork of solutions and pulling them together to be able to solve their own unmet needs. But on the user side, we hear that people are stuck without access to the traditional or the digital economies, and they're losing money that's frankly rightfully theirs to inflation, to high fees, just to delays, to inefficiencies. And then people with access to the digital economies, it's somehow limited oftentimes, either limited by regulation or by the applications that they are actually able to leverage. And then on the business side, we see that businesses are unable to meet as many people as they can with the goods and services that they want to deliver. And then builders, they're missing the opportunity to access a huge segment of the population because they can't get there. They can't reach those individuals. So people find themselves stuck, but they're not helpless. They come up with creative ways to solve their needs. And oftentimes the conversations about the unbanked make some assumptions around the fact that they don't have access to any financial tools or any financial ideas. And that just couldn't be further from the truth. When you're unbanked, you still find a way around these obstacles, even though it takes your time and your energy and your mental anguish, and frankly, sometimes your money. But they want to be able to save and spend and make money just like the rest of us. So it's just much harder for them to be able to do it, but they're always looking to find these solutions. Now, because sometimes they don't have the luxury to wait for a solution that comes to market or to be designed for them, probably they don't expect solutions will be designed for them, they take risks to meet their own needs. These are regular folks who are innovating every single day with the resources that they have. So what I'm seeing and hearing again and again as I talk to folks around the world in the stellar ecosystem and in the communities around them is that people innovate all of the time out of necessity. And it's happening with, and a lot of times without, blockchain. They may not be people you imagine, they may not look the way that you think innovators should look, but I hope I can expand your perspective on that a bit today. The more we take the time to listen, the better positioned that we're going to be to ensure that blockchain innovation can really help people with the things that they need. So let me tell you about one of those innovators. In February, as I mentioned, I had a chance to travel to the African continent, to Ghana, to Nigeria, and to Kenya, and with builders in the stellar ecosystem and stakeholders who could really help us understand the challenges that people were facing around innovation there. So meet Joy. He was our videographer on the trip. He's worked for global household brands. He's created films and commercials. He has a resume and a global resume that any CMO would be impressed by. But he faces a battle every single time he has to do a project, because he does the projects out of Ghana. Now, it's because of this fragmented global payment landscape, which is especially challenging on the African continent. So Joy is a veteran when it comes to payment challenges. He, despite being banked, he has a bank account in the UK and also one in Ghana. Despite having access to all the payment applications, and also to a group of people and a network that he can leverage in a pinch to help solve problems, you name the payment hurdle, and he's had to deal with it. Absorbing enormous fees from wire transfers, from hiring companies, slow send times because of the banks and the financial institutions, making sure that other creators are getting paid for their work, and that they don't have to experience the hassles to be able to get the local currency that they need. He enlists friends to exchange for local currency so that he can be able to pay people. And he's getting questions from banks and these payment platforms all the time about why he keeps transferring his money all around. Sometimes his bank accounts are closed and the money's held for almost 3 months because of these different things that he has to do. All the while, he's losing money to fees at every step of the way. Even when things seem to be going well, he hits bumps that appear. He described one morning on a commercial shoot that he was late to the shoot because he had to go to his own personal bank account to be able to get local currency out so that he could pay the folks that were helping him on the shoot, because the money from the company that wanted the shoot couldn't come through. It was delayed. As Joy points out with good humor, he's a creator. He's not a banker. He didn't sign up for that. Yet he's forced in the current financial system to spend significant time and mental energy figuring out the financial side of his professional projects. Now, he endures it because he sees the real value that bringing these different projects from the local creators in Ghana to the international marketplace offer. And if it weren't for people like Joy, these things wouldn't happen, and the local creators wouldn't be able to deliver their goods to market. And frankly, we would all be worse off for it. But imagine, each time that you get paid, you have to jump through a bunch of hurdles. And you have to figure out how to get the local currency. You have to figure out how to get paid for yourself, but also to pay all of the people that you work with. And no one is solving these problems for you or with you. Would you trust the technologists? Would you feel like you're being listened to? So at the Stellar Development Foundation, our focus, as I mentioned earlier, is on creating equitable access to the global financial system. And we do this by helping local builders solve problems using blockchain. So because this is our goal, this is our focus, it is our responsibility to understand the problems faced by local builders. We can't understand them from afar. My time in Ghana and Nigeria and Kenya this year underscored the importance of listening and broadening our understanding of innovation and who is doing it. Innovation, when it comes to financial services, is happening in ways that we might not even understand or recognize. If there's one thing I want to highlight from this trip, it's that anyone who's dissatisfied or unserved by the existing financial system is a true innovator. People find utility where and when they need it. So when we went to listen, here's what we heard. There's one crypto enthusiast who made an informal market for remittances among his friends and his family using WhatsApp because the traditional remittances were slow and they were too costly. There was another company who figured out a way to tokenize unused airtime. So think that time that's spent on a mobile device, they tokenize that. Instead of having this stuck on their phones, people can access the digital economy. And then there was one female founder in Nigeria who designed QR code-based cards that you could then use a feature phone or a flip phone to be able to access and pay in a digital form. So you could do that without a smartphone. And another founder, he built a startup to provide small businesses with short-term loans since they were priced out of the market. They couldn't actually use the banks. What they all have in common is it tackles an unmet need in a new way. They also meet the criteria of building, that I mentioned earlier, building with trust because they're listening and they're providing the tools to the individuals that actually they can understand and that helps them solve the problems before them. As a result, they're trusted. Some already use blockchain. Some do not, yet. But there's our opportunity. Blockchain can add tremendous value and utility. This is where the call to action to local blockchain builders comes in. Blockchain innovation can learn from the approach to building trust. Despite all of the obstacles that we heard and saw, Joy and others were still willing to be able to jump through all these hoops and yet still open to and wanted to understand new technologies that can help them to solve their challenges. The places where financial access and financial needs aren't being met is where blockchain is truly flourishing, or it can truly flourish. But this isn't always the most attention-grabbing space to be able to solve these challenges. I know, we've been doing this for the last 10 years, and the attention isn't grabbed by the work that we've spent time doing, but it is typically where people have been let down the most. And if you think about it, if you can meet the needs and meet the people in the place that they need to be able to solve their own problems, that's where we can start building some serious trust. I believe blockchain technology is that tool. It does so much to create opportunities for those who have money, for opportunities for those that have access and they just want more. But why should we be just focused in that space? Why don't we focus and build trust by ensuring that the technology is used how it was originally intended? To remove those borders, to create opportunity for those that didn't have access to the traditional financial infrastructure, to get to that space where people's needs are unmet. So what we should not do is sit in our hometowns and try to diagnose the problems in Ghana and Nigeria and Kenya. What we should do is rely on those local builders that can listen, or work with those local builders that understand the challenges in each of those regions, and build technologies and build tools that are agnostic as to what people can do with them, and let them decide how to make that infrastructure work for them. Local builders need to solve the problems that they've identified, but they need infrastructure to help them to do that. This is the approach to innovation that builds trust. It creates an opportunity for us to be able to leverage this technology that was built by the many, because it's open infrastructure rather than the few. It's agnostic, it allows them to choose how to build it, and it allows them to create an opportunity to really reach and meet those unmet needs of the people that they see in their communities. That's the opportunity we have now, to build trust in blockchain solutions by making sure that they're delivering utility. Let's make sure that that utility word isn't just something that we used in a bull market, when we saw that regulation was a challenge for us. Let's make sure that as we're coming out of this bear market and into this meme coin frenzy, where there's all this trading activity that's focused on meme coins, let's make sure that that's not the only place that we focus our work. Is that really what we want to spend our time on when we know that this technology can do so much more? Gathered here this week are some of the world's brightest innovators with blockchain technology. founders and builders and supporters of this tech stack all in one place. We're all here because we understand how game-changing this technology is. And we're driven to use it to be able to improve the current financial infrastructure. That's what we're here for. That's what we've talked about for a long time. 10 years ago, Stellar began as a decentralized payment network. There was pretty awesome utility from the standpoint of making payments in an effective, efficient, affordable manner. It's agnostic on how you use it. Anyone can build on it. There's no permissions. And it has grown through this open participation. Since then, the network's ecosystem has delivered a growing number of really, truly fantastic asset issuers, on and off ramps, cash to crypto, and a global network of wallets. They're actually solving the challenges with respect to utility for those end users. Establishing this foundation of utility and this opportunity for awesome infrastructure was essential to be able to bridge that gap so that builders can solve the unmet needs before them. And the work has really paid off. Some of the brightest use cases that you hear about in the ecosystem are actually building on Stellar. You hear about wallets that are focused on making sure that refugees actually can receive their aid in an efficient and comfortable manner for them. Wallets that can actually ensure that you can take your assets and hold them so you can hedge against your local inflation. Other wallets that really help to solve that last mile so that you can actually take your crypto and convert it into cash and use it when you want it, but keep it on the blockchain when you don't need to use the fiat. These are all things that are built on the network, and these are just a few examples. Native smart contracts just got brought to Stellar, and they unleash an endless opportunity for builders. Because now, this foundation of unmatched utility and interoperability can actually really help to connect to decentralized finance, which frankly, the way I think about that is the use of everyday financial tools for everyone. So to all the local builders who really understand the problems in your community, you're the ones who can leverage the utility and put it in the hands of the users. Trust is built through listening, understanding unmet needs, and that is where blockchain must meet the real world. This is how we work together to really transform everyday financial services in a truly, truly meaningful way. So let's build trust by solving real problems and make sure that people feel the difference in their lives and frankly, in their pocketbooks. Our team is here all week, and we're all here to meet with you and to listen. What are you hearing from your community? What are the unmet needs that you've heard about? How can we work together to determine if blockchain is actually a solution to play a part? Come find us. And until then, thank you so much for listening.